Dalton Brown, the executive director in the building, and he's here to talk about the Felony Free Society movement that's going on this summer here in Chicago. How are we going to try to keep people felony free? And for those people that are felons, we want to make sure they aren't repeat felons. And we want to take a look at that whole process of being a felon, why it's so prevalent in Chicago, especially with the Black and Hispanic communities, and also the violence that's going on. You know, we are on the campaign One City, One Voice, Put the Guns Down this summer. We are definitely supporting that campaign, and we are definitely trying to get that message out. We want the violence to stop. We want it to really curtail in a way that we can see more vividly on the streets than what we're seeing now. So give us a call at 312-738-1060. And I just want to tell Dalton, thank you so much, brother, for coming on the show.
Appreciate it.
Dalton is a personal friend of mine. I've been knowing him for years. He's been involved in the construction industry. He also has his own training program, Transitional Services, and now he's going off into a new venture with the Felony Free Society, and it's got a lot of passion behind it. So I'm going to jump right into it, Dalton, and ask you, what made you want to go there, man? I mean, you've had your success in construction industry. You've had success with your training program. Why take on such a controversial subject as felons?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for having me. You've been a great inspiration to me throughout the years, and it's an absolute pleasure to be here.
My pleasure, brother.
Well, let me start by saying that the Felony Free Society is a movement to help educate the youth and our community in general about the harmful effects of obtaining a felony conviction. What we want to do is establish a grassroots effort to get into the schools to talk to youth, grades 8 through 12, about the harmful effects of obtaining a felony conviction. We also want to help those who have already obtained a felony conviction and have possibly done jail time get reacclimated back into the community effectively. The reason why this is such a hot button topic for me is that, you know, I have seen firsthand the effects of good people that have made mistakes in their lives and have obtained a felony conviction, unable to receive jobs or unable to obtain jobs, high-paying jobs.
That whole box that they have on the application, I've heard there's some states trying to repeal that, trying to get that out of there.
Yeah, and, you know, Illinois has been really good with that. We are this is one of the states, and in Chicago, in particular, that they removed the box on the city applications. So
great.
So that was a big victory. But there's still a lot more that we need to do legislatively to help ex-offenders get back established into the community, because quite frankly, they just need jobs. I mean, you come out of the system and you want to do good. You want to do some positive things with your life. You want to turn it around. You feel like you've paid your debt to society, but at the same time, society is not forgiving. It's not as forgiving. And what we need to do is look at some legislative measures that would help ex-offenders, or returning citizens, I should say, obtain jobs in particular, like the healthcare field and the education field. We have lifetime bans on ex-offenders in those fields in particular, and I think there needs to be some more legislation, that effective legislation that would help to that end, and to help get these individuals jobs that want to change their life around.
Dalton Brown is our guest on the McGraw Report. We're talking about the Felon Free Society this summer. This is a new movement, a new initiative that's going on, and Dalton is the executive director. Give him a call, 312-738-1060. If you're an ex-offender, you might not ever had a felony before in your life. But you notice a little something going on out here where they're trying to give people cases, they're trying to convict people for the smallest of things and get that felony on you. And you know that once you get that felony conviction on you, there's a lot of barriers that are put up because of that one particular thing. And you might want to check a look at this Felony Free Society for yourself. Give them a call, 312-738-1060. Now, Dalton, I was on the south side of Chicago, over in the southeast part. I know that there's an extreme amount of violence going on in that area. And while I was there, I noticed that there was a demonstration from you and your crew. And it was a very, very powerful demonstration. It was one of two demonstrations that I saw over this summer. One was right downtown where you simulated body bags. What was that all about?
One of the, I should say, let me back up for a second. The vision of the Felony Free Society is to create crime-free communities, send every child to college, and end homelessness. So those it's a pretty broad spectrum of things that we want to do.
Right.
So with creating that crime-free community, one of the things that we have to do is, we as an organization, we have to be proactive when it comes to stopping violence and being active in the community and giving people an opportunity or informing people of the opportunities that they have to better their lives and to live productive lives free from crime and violence in our communities.
But I gotta say though, Dalton, that it's a pretty strong visual of seeing people laying in those black bags.
Yeah.
I mean, that was powerful stuff, man. I know that hit home for a lot of people.
Yeah, so that was the intention of that particular march, and that like you say, it was downtown. We had a few of the people in our organization. We basically staged a march downtown, and the guys had on body bags. They had bags simulating dead bodies, and we were walking around the Daily Center, and we were shouting with a loud voice that we wanted the violence to end. So we wanted the people downtown and the stakeholders to understand that there's a problem going on within our communities that needs to be addressed. And what we were asking for in particular was a better education for our children, felony awareness. We want it taught within the school system. We want a better or more job opportunities for ex-offenders, or I should say returning citizens.
Economic empowerment
for these individuals, and we want better communication between our politicians and our community leaders, namely our faith-based community leaders. We want them to talk more. We want them to be more vocal. We want them to be out in the communities, getting involved and having rallies and marches and so on and so forth. So those are the kind of things that we were asking for at this particular march downtown that we held, and it was called the Body Bag Demonstration March. And there's some more information that you can find out about it on the Be Felony Free Society website that we have.
That was a great march. I thought it was a very effective message. Now I want to show you a clip, Chicago, of the last march that I saw on the southeast side. Very powerful stuff. So be prepared, and we'll cut back to Dalton right after this clip.
Let's go. King Rose
That was the Felony Free Society in motion on the south side of Chicago, and that was pretty heavy, man. That was a pretty heavy visual. Now, why did you take it so far as to have the guys with the gurneys and the stretchers and the hazmat suits? Why did you take it so far?
Well, first of all, we wanted to convey to that community in particular, and where we were on 63rd and King Drive. We actually marched on 63rd and King Drive. We also marched down 63rd to 65th and Rhodes. Also 65th and Rhodes back to, 65th and Eberhard back to 63rd and King Drive, where we ended with a rally, and the message there was that killing in that particular community has become an absolute disease that's plaguing it, and we want it to stop. And we dressed in hazmat suits to carry out the bodies that were there, that had been destroyed, the lives that had been lost to gun violence there, and say we want it to end. We want you guys to start a dialogue between each other to try to end some of this. The guys on 63rd, 64th, 65th, and King Drive, the guys that live in Parkway, I should say the people that live in Parkway, Parkway Gardens, Woodlawn area in general, have been warring with factions from Rhodes, Eberhard, St. Lawrence, and this has been going on for years now.
And it's concentrated because there are police stations, at least two of them, if not more, in that same area. So it's not like the district commanders aren't aware of this.
Right. Well, they are aware. They are aware of it. And then this message was about the people taking responsibility for what's going on. In that community.
It's only so much the police are going to be able to do.
Right.
They're outgunned, they're outmanned, and the politicians too. It's only so far they're going to go.
And then we need the community itself to take a stand and say enough is enough. We are tired of sending our children to prison and to the morgue in that community. And what we were saying was that was called a community-to-community apology march, where we cleaned up the community using hazmat suits to clean up the diseased bodies that were left there dead from gun violence in those two communities. And we were asking the two communities to rethink the laws of retaliation when it comes to gun violence, because you cannot get back the dead.
And it's one of those things where if a person gets shot and or killed, then the retaliation just perpetuates the crime even further. And so I know part of the strategy for the interrupters was to predict the strategy of retaliation if there was a crime that occurred that they were aware of. But you have to have some sort of community policing and some sort of community involvement to get that information, because by the time it becomes a police story, it's probably a homicide.
More than likely it is a homicide. And we have to understand what's going on in Chicago today. It's not big gangs that's perpetuating the problem, perpetuating the
and I've heard people talk about the old days where they used to get, Jeff Ford and Larry Hoover and those guys together, and they would squash all the beef, but it's not like that anymore.
And what you effectively have in the streets of Chicago today is they're smaller cliques of individual groups of 10 to 15 in any one particular group, mostly between the ages of 12 and 24, 25 years old.
And very young.
And are acting independently from what we like to think of as organized gangs. Okay, so they have a little clique. They have little cliques, and you'll have a just for instance, hypothetically, you have a Young Money clique, a Ballin clique, and just these little cliques. And what they're doing is they're fighting amongst each other. And it looks like gang turf, gang war, that kind of thing, but it's really not. It's just these little smaller groups of younger individuals that are obtaining weapons that even the police don't have. Okay, and they are going back and forth, killing and shooting each other, and it's over a lot of times simple beef, Facebook beefs,
Twitter beefs,
Twitter beefs and stuff like that.
Small things.
The guys
some at school or something.
Some at school. A guy does a rap video, and he has like 30 or 40 guns in the video, and he's dissing a rival organization or clique, and then the next day the guy is not here anymore.
Right.
And so this is what's going on in the communities, and we have to understand so we can start to address the problem. And this is why felony awareness and prevention is so important. This is why education for our young folks is so important. They need to understand how to deal with the police department effectively. They need to know how to deal with peer pressure amongst themselves effectively. They need to understand how to deal with they need to have they need to understand positive anger expressions and how to get this stuff. How to what to do with their free time, because they get a lot of free time on their hands.
Yeah.
And when they get a lot of free time on their hands, then there is opportunity there. And staying away from these groups of individuals that essentially love that lifestyle and want to perpetuate and keep the violence going.
Dalton Brown is our guest on the McGraw Report. He's talking about the felony-free society. He's talking about the violence that's going on in our streets today, the actual intent of it, what's going on, how we can start becoming our own policing within our communities. Give us a call, 312-738-1060. I know there's probably something going on your block right now. Chicago has like a blanket of fear over it right now. It's a nationwide issue. People are looking at Chicago with a fine-tooth comb when it comes to this violence. And so, Chicago, we're trying to dialogue about it and talk about it right now. If you feel strongly about this issue and you have something to say, give us a call, 312-738-1060. Talk to Mr. Brown. And I don't want to hog up too much of the time, but I am so extremely proud of the way you have stepped up and taken the bull by the horns in this very sensitive point in Chicago history. And I think it's very important that we recognize that all African American men are not out here on the corner selling drugs, begging for quarters, doing dumb stuff. It's people that care about the community, that are out here trying to do something and make a difference. And Chicago, we want you to know that we recognize the problem. We recognize it. We identify with some of the issues, and some of it is probably in your own backyard. They police the way they do.
The problem that we face in our communities is bigger than the police problem, a police issue, or policing the community. I should say. There has to be a collective effort between the police department,
and the community.
We
gotta
have to
be
step
involved.
Up. And then it falls on me. It falls on you. It falls on all
falls
of us.
on you, Chicago.
It falls on all of us to kind of say, enough is enough. What you can do to help the situation, and figuring out what you can do to help the situation. Grabbing a young person by the hand and trying to direct them.
That's right. Mentoring. A lot of those kind of things help.
Exactly. It's not one person. It's not one group. It's all of us. It's the churches. It's our faith-based communities stepping up to the plate. If you notice, if you drive down any of our city blocks, there are 1,000 churches within those blocks. And then in the hardest hit communities, they are nowhere to be found. We need them to step up.
Gotta open the doors.
Yeah, we need people like myself to step up. We need our politicians to come out there and get involved and do marches, have marches of their own, and some other stuff like that to make it happen.
Dalton, you made a valid point. I want you to give out your website one more time for the viewers.
Okay. The website, it's the letter B, felonyfree.com. The website is the letter B, felonyfree.com. felonyfreesociety.com, and they can find out information about our marches, and they can get involved. They can leave a donation. We are
McGraw.
501.
This is Dalton Brown of the Felony Free Society.